Hey Narwhals, I'm your host Luke Narwhal, and welcome back to another weight loss video. Hope you enjoy. Anyone else hate veggies growing up because your mom boiled everything into a mushy, gross mess? I'm in my 30s. I've eaten vegetables and stuff as an adult just because I know it's good for you, but I never really enjoyed them. I've eaten at restaurants and had veggies I like, but always thought it was some high-end Gordon Ramsay type stuff they did to them that I couldn't replicate myself at home. Well, I started eating tons of asparagus. Literally just throw in a pan and stick in the oven. Couldn't be easier. I recently cooked some dinner for my parents. Asparagus, potato chips, basically just slice up potatoes really thin, drizzle with oil and salt and bake for 40 minutes, and lamb marinated in soy sauce and garlic. Everything came out well, but I remember putting asparagus in the oven and my mother actually saying, "What? In the oven? No, you're supposed to microwave or boil them." It hit me. That's why I hated veggies growing up. Everything she made was microwaved or boiled, which both turned everything into a mushy, gross, disgusting mess. No crisp, no flavor, just waterlogged BS. I vividly remember eating green beans, and every bite you just had a burst of warm water in your mouth. I literally thought that's just what green beans were, a mushy, rubbery tube of warm water. Anyone else experience the same? This is a holdover type of behavior from when everyone thought they had to cook the ever-living crap out of everything or die of salmonella type stuff. I hated meat growing up for this reason. I swear that pot roast is a trigger word for me, because in a family where you did not lay the table until your plate was clean, I would cry before I even got to the table. It was like chewing on a frigging tire. I would chew and chew and chew, and it never broke down. I was terrified of swallowing it because I thought I would choke to death. I'll take the yelling and guilt trips over that. Eventually, the pot roast stopped, thank God. They still cook every ounce of moisture out of meat. When my brother or I order something other than well done, my mom acts like she's going to be putting us in the ground later that week. Oh hell yes. Roasted Brussels sprouts are an absolute game changer compared to the flavorless damp sponges you remember. My mother-in-law is like this, and that's the reason why my boyfriend hates most vegetables. She barely uses spices, maybe a super small amount of salt in the boiling water for potatoes, boiled vegetables, and everything is just mushy and tastes bland. She also has no creativity when it comes to cooking. She won't try anything foreign. Spaghetti bolognese is her most exotic meal, and it's literally overcooked spaghetti noodles and a jar of bolognese sauce with maybe a fresh bell pepper thrown in. My boyfriend luckily lives with me now, so I've already taught him to eat some vegetables or eat more creative and exotic meals, but he still has some siblings who live at his mom's, and they're terrible when it comes to eating. They barely eat vegetables, any meal they don't know is immediately yuck, and they all have fried and overprocessed foods as their favorite meals. The funny thing is, she has a full fancy spice rack in her kitchen, and she uses literally none of them, just some salt and maybe some pepper. She buys fresh fruit and vegetables for her guinea pigs and her parrot though. Yes, my parents used a lot of frozen veggie mix that was just like warm, watery beans, peas, and sweet corn, and I still can't eat half those veggies without getting flashbacks. Oh, I can't eat those either. Here's the funny thing though. I didn't grow up in the States, and we're Indian, so I grew up eating delicious cooked veggies with spices for the most part, except for that frozen veggie mix. I didn't understand why American kids on TV were shown to dislike veggies. And then I moved to the States and had boiled veggies, and I understood. Not all veggies, but Brussels sprouts and green beans were generally boiled into oblivion, so I didn't think those were good until I was an adult and could make them myself. Luckily, most of the veggies I grew up eating were delicious. I've always had strong cravings for carrots and spinach, especially. Yes, my dad's father was widowed since before my parents ever married, so they brought him over for dinner regularly. My parents always made dinner how Pop liked it, so it was horribly buttery and the vegetables were very, very soft. It doesn't help that Pop had diverticulitis, so anything with little bits, strawberries, whole grain bread, etc. bothered him. On top of all that, my parents are flat out bad cooks. I go home now and again and make my mom a panini, and she'll literally be like, "This is the best thing I've ever eaten." Bro, it's just mustard. I also thought I hated meat but turns out it was all overcooked. My mom cooked steak correctly, but a lot of other meats were overcooked. I know you're supposed to cook chicken all the way through, but that doesn't mean you need to dry it out completely by leaving it in the oven for an hour and a half. There's also certain types of fish, like tuna, that in my opinion taste much better with a light sear on both sides. It should still be pinkish in the middle. OMG yes. Every time I make veggies, I think, what the frig was my mom thinking? And I was overweight as a kid, and they always blame me. I remember when I was like 7 and my mom kept commenting about my weight. I didn't have the mental capacity then to recognize this, but she was the one feeding me. She was the one who made me clean my plate every night. Yup, I served the kid a 1,000-calorie breakfast, 1,000-calorie lunch, and a 1,500-calorie dinner, but it's the extra 200 calories of ice cream before bed that makes you fat. Some people. Oh my god, yes. And no salt or fat. When I discovered roasted broccoli, it was a revelation. I remember the one veggie dish my mom would consistently make that I liked was boiled broccoli and cauliflower with cheese melted on top. And the green beans she made at Thanksgiving and Christmas that had olive oil, salt, and almonds were incredible. But they were only for special occasions because olive oil and nuts were bad. I wonder a lot about whether I would have struggled with weight while growing up if people in the 80s didn't have things so wrong when it came to the nutritional status of fat. Mine served up that frozen corn, pea, carrot, and green bean blend most of the time. Does anyone like those square carrot chunks? And sometimes broccoli. It microwaved too soft. I much preferred when she'd make a salad, though it was super small. The convenience factor may be great, but I much prefer the roasted and steamed of my adulthood. She also put sugar on cantaloupe and other fruits. Once I grew up and had them elsewhere, I failed to understand why. Yeah, my mom didn't really cook, and my dad just stewed everything. Brown veg for days. I love all kinds of food now, if it's cooked well, but I learned to cook on my own. I don't know how, but somewhere inside me was an adventurous chef waiting to get out. By 13 to 14 years old, I was cooking dinner for my whole family. I basically did it because I wanted to eat food cooked nicely. I can see how people who lived in a household where their parents had cooking rules or wouldn't let them cook might hate certain dishes and foods from their childhood. My problem now is I love food too much and my portion sizes suck. I was the opposite. My mom was a good cook, but I never had the urge to actually learn anything from her. When I moved out on my own, I tried to teach myself to cook. Gray, soggy broccoli was the normal side for whatever meat I was overcooking. In the days before cooking channels on cable and YouTube videos, I settled for bad food. After years of watching tons of cooking shows and going to culinary school, I'm a much better cook. My mom is still better than me. I am so grateful that my parents were good cooks, and that I was responsible for putting dinner on the table a few times a week starting at age 10, so I learned too. I always loved vegetables. My mom and I would go to the farmer's market to pick them out every weekend. We did a lot of roasted vegetables, a lot of vegetable heavy dishes from different cultures, and a big salad with every meal. Thanks, Mom and Dad. I'm in my 30s too. My mom bought a lot of frozen veggies when I was growing up because they were cheap, and everything steamed in unseasoned water. Peas, veggies, broccoli, green beans, and spinach. They sauteed zucchini with lemon peppers, so I knew I liked those. I honestly thought I only liked peas and mixed veggies for the longest time, because they had the most flavor. But then I started dating my now husband, and he was roasting veggies with spices on them, and OMG, I finally like green beans and broccoli and spinach. Cooking veggies with spices and making them charry is the best thing ever. Did your mom like your asparagus? Yes. It's funny, I developed quite an odd cooking style. My mom grew up and was taught certain rules. Very little spices, basically just salt and pepper, no experimenting, etc. I'm more like, hey, I like chicken, I like hot sauce, I like pepperonis, and I like cheese. What if I bake a chicken breast and then add hot sauce, a layer of shredded cheddar, and place pepperonis on top at the end to make it like a pizza-inspired sort of chicken parm? My dad usually really likes the stuff I cook. My mom will enjoy it, but be sort of bitter that I'm not following her rules, and that my dad likes my cooking better than hers. And that brings us to the end of the video, narwhals. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please tap subscribe to join our awesome community, the narwhals, and for more weight loss stories that help you stay on track. And here's our featured narwhal of the day. Down 45 pounds so far, currently at 305 pounds. I think my face is starting to take shape.